All right. Well, we are having some issues with um, our videos again, but welcome. Valhalla Week 11, Valhalla Hour Week 11. I'm your host, Sir SoCal. Rob's not here with us. He's in Nashville for the game. We have a lot of people who are in Nashville for the game, so we have a lot of boots on the ground there. So I'm sure we'll be getting updates and stuff like that from the ground. And joining me is Matthew Luciteri. Southern Skull Eric Gorecki is on his way to Nashville. How come we're not in Nashville?
No one paid for my ticket.
I just got back literally 12 hours from Orlando. So,
You should have just driven through and stopped on your way.
uh, yeah, that's one stadium I do want to visit. Um, Preferably when the new one is going to be complete because they're getting a new fully enclosed stadium. So that'll be even better.
Nice.
So, our first topic is the Vikings win 12-7. Is that correct?
It's not quite as bad as the 3-0 Raiders game, but pretty bad.
Let me make
Punt,
sure.
punt,
Yep,
punt,
I'm
punt,
in
punt.
the. Yeah, we win 12-7.
Yes.
We got no
Hey,
touchdowns.
it's a win.
No touchdowns.
Yeah, I see. I'm not shocked that we didn't score through the air because Sam Darnold was just forcing it to JJ every time we were even close to the end zone, and he was obviously always either double or triple covered. But Aaron Jones couldn't sneak one in. We couldn't get we couldn't get a defensive or no, yeah, we couldn't even get a defensive touchdown. Like, come on. If you're not going to score through the air, you got to find other ways to score besides relying on John Parker Romo, who apparently just likes to go by Parker Romo to get all your points for you. Just yeah. Okay, it's a win.
And there was some. This game literally was had me on a roller coaster. At one point, I was swearing profusely at the TV, wanting Sam Darnold to be traded, fired, whatever. And then it was just a genuine roller coaster last week.
Yeah. Every once in a while, the Vikings have those games where by like halftime, it's such a comedy of errors that you just have to laugh at it. Otherwise, you'll cry. And his third interception was exactly that. It's just like, okay, it's just one of those games. We just suck today outside of our defense.
And then here's the other thing: we had three interceptions. They had two interceptions and a fumble. And the fumble was by you know one of the best Vikings to come to the team just recently, Harrison Phillips.
Mhm.
Um, they had just started going, turnover after turnover after turnover, and I'm going, okay, so maybe there is some life in us after all.
Right.
I think what really screwed Jacksonville was that penalty with seconds to go in the game. That gave us that first down.
That's so, yeah. I mean, the announcers roasted him for it. Like, what a dumb mistake.
And I didn't. Did he throw a punch or did he just like elbow somebody?
I didn't see the actual like infraction. I just, yeah, like you said, heard the call of the penalty on the field for the automatic first down, and it's just like, well, okay, thanks. I mean, we were gonna get it. Like we were driving that game. Like we were able to make our way down the field pretty well, but we couldn't capitalize. So it's not like that would have gotten them the game, but you can't give us a first down with 30 seconds left and no timeout.
You gave us that game, and now you're going to be running stairs all next practice.
Right.
Um, Sam Darnold I don't know if he left the other Sam Darnold on the bus or what, but this wasn't like him.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
couldn't get the ball off before just getting crushed, and
There was
our offense just wasn't there.
also there was something to be said about our interior O line, and I feel like we have this conversation every week. But and I'm not giving Sam Darnold all of the passes because two of his interceptions were in a clean pocket, just poorly thrown balls. But the interior O line is getting consistently worked by any good defensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam Darnold, that is Sam Darnold. We said that going into the season that he's kind of like Kirk Cousins, where if he gets in rhythm early and he can stay in a rhythm and stay clean, he's probably going to have a decent game. But if he gets rattled early on, he doesn't have that mental capacity to recover. Uh, and Jacksonville just stuck it to us. I mean, he still had like what 27 of 34 passing or something like that. So he still had a high completion percentage, had 240 yards. But yeah, he just could not capitalize in the red zone.
Here are some vital stats from the game. We had 402 yards, 241 of which were in the air. We had 6 penalties for 40 yards. The time of possession is an absolute abomination.
Yeah,
42 minutes and 19 seconds we had the ball,
yeah,
and we still managed to get 12. We should have
yeah,
been shoving it down their fucking throats.
yeah. Especially when Hawkinson is having the game he was having, like he was making plays anytime the ball was next to him. He was just catching it and moving it. And so this, I don't know if it's in Darnold's head or if JJ behind the scenes is saying like, "Hey, even if I'm doubled, I'm open," and he's just like giving Darnold a false sense of security. But if JJ's doubled or tripled, somebody else is open. We've seen too many times where Addison's streaking wide open or Aaron Jones is streaking wide open. He's got to watch that film and be like, okay, I need to get away from just giving it to the star, and I got to give it to these other players. Like when we see him give touchdowns to Oliver or Jalen Naylor, they're wide open and they just
Mm-hmm.
walk right in, and we're all like, oh my god, great play. And then you have the exact opposite like that, like last week, where they're open, but instead of going to them, we're throwing to JJ.
Let me give some disparity for this. So Jacksonville's rushing game only had 56 yards total.
Yeah, Etienne was a
56.
non-factor.
Aaron Jones had 88. Aaron
But we
Jones
have like
rushed.
160 as a team.
Yeah, Mac Jones only had 111 yards passing.
Yeah,
This right here should have shown us we should have been just jamming it down their throat every chance we could get. With the rushing, the passing, even the time of possession showed that this pretty much was our game and we were just squandering it.
yeah. I mean, at least the game against the Colts when Darnold had two interceptions, he at least followed it up with three touchdowns. You can't have three picks and not even score.
Exactly. I don't know what the hell went on, but this was really going to be one sided, but we just couldn't finish the job.
One thing
Um,
I will say, oh, sorry.
yeah, it's okay. You
Uh,
can.
one thing I will say is I loved KOC's comments in the locker room after the game, where he could have absolutely probably not shit on Sam Darnold, but kind of like ghosted him and ignored him. But he said, "Hey, we know you're still the quarterback of this team. We know you're going to be the one to take us there. We all 100% still believe in you and have your back." And so to keep that confidence in him and to not kind of shatter his faith, I like to see that because I think Sam Darnold will come out next week with a little bit of fire under him versus coming out like a beaten puppy.
Yeah, I just looking at all these stats. You know, we have very good players. Aaron Jones, once again, star of the show. Hawkinson has been a beast since he's come back. Um,
He
we
might finish
still
as a
need,
top 5 tight end
yeah, well, yeah.
after missing 7 games, 8 games.
Uh, Jefferson, we're still trying to find a way to sneak the ball to him, and now I'm understanding why we drafted Addison when we did. But let's move on to hero and zero. Who's your hero? Who's your zero?
So the zero is obviously Sam Darnold. Yeah. The Jacksonville defense is okay. They're not a terrible defense, so it's okay if you're going to struggle versus them. But again, you can't have 3 turnovers and not score a touchdown. My hero is going to be Byron Murphy. That interception where he just kind of laid out in the end zone for it, that was a hard ball to track, and he made the play on it. And that really is what kind of sealed the game for us. He's been playing very well the last few games. I think he's kind of hurt us dogging him earlier on in the season because the last 3 games he's played really well, and he's made a lot of really clutch late interceptions to help us seal these wins.
My zero is just the entire offense. There is no excuse having 402 yards, the time of possession the way we have, and we don't get a single damn touchdown. Are you
Yeah,
serious?
and then
What? What are we, Pop Warner team? Come on.
well, it looked like it when we tried to do that. We always have to have that cute play in the red zone, that kind of toss back to Jefferson like he was going to throw the ball. Just why do we do that shit? We
Well,
always do those cutesy end arounds, and it always bites us in the ass.
Romo, you're my hero. Single handedly won us the game.
Less than a week.
Yeah. Well, and it reminds me of the game last year when Chicago came into our house and won via field goals.
Yeah,
So I guess it was our turn to do that to Jacksonville.
my boss actually kind of cracked me up because he didn't realize that Will Reichard was injured. And so he saw John Parker Romo playing on Sunday. He's like, "Oh, did we go Mike Zimmer on Will Reichard and cut him after those 2 misses last week?" I said, "No, he's got a groin injury." He thought we cut him and moved on to a different kicker. No,
um,
no, no. He's on IR.
we're gonna introduce a new one called most defining play of the game. What was the most defining play of that game?
Like I said, it either the Byron Murphy interception or like the Harrison Phillips fumble that you had mentioned, because both of those came at times where it's like where our offense is clearly not putting points on the board. Jacksonville's less than a touchdown away. If they score, they're up by 2. And we've shown that outside of field goals, we can't put it in. So those 2 turnovers were absolutely massive to ensure that victory for us.
Well, I honestly think the most defining play wasn't committed by us, but it was by Jacksonville. Again, we talked about it earlier. The most defining play was indeed that penalty with seconds to go that not only gave us that first down but gave us the game.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, if you're a Jaguars fan, like we had Captain Duval on last week, which again, thank you very much, Captain Duval, for coming on. You do have an open invite whenever you'd like.
that was
Um,
super cool.
yeah, he's a very wonderful person, and I'm glad we have the chance to interview super fans like that. Um, this show is fan of fans, and you're seeing that. And if you're a Jaguar fan, you're going, "What the hell? Cut this dude!" And had that been us, I would have been screaming at the TV, asking him to not only be cut, but to be moved to the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, he's like you said, he's definitely running some stairs at the bare minimum.
It, it, I just really can't wrap my head around that just because of the fact that, well, you're, and it was a penalty on Walker for unnecessary roughness for 15 yards. And that's what sealed the game. Sealed the game for us. So, yeah, so interception, interception. Yeah, so they had 3 turnovers in a row. Started with the fumble, then the interception, and then another interception. And I'm just looking at this, and I'm going, second quarter, no one scored. 2 punts in a row.
One punt.
Our first drive in the second quarter, 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we got it what late at the end of the quarter and had it through like 5 minutes left in the next quarter. It was an insanely long drive.
Yeah, but it just goes to show our run game is pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah, we were putting it together, and then all of a sudden, flunk.
yeah. The thing that gets me is, and I get there's obviously going to be necessary or not necessary, but earned criticisms for Sam Darnold because of having 3 picks. But this whole like, oh, we're 7-2, it's still a win. People are allowed to have a bad game. I remember Aaron Rodgers during his MVP era, he played Denver and had like 75 yards and a pick, 0 touchdowns in an entire game. People are going to have a bad game. Jared Goff had 5 interceptions later that night. They barely squeaked out a win by a last second field goal that was inches away from being no good. So people, I don't see Lions fans going, oh, the season's over. We're not a contender anymore because Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions. Like, no, Sam Darnold, he's going to be fine. I don't want to step into our later conversations about the Titans, but that's going to be a little tricky. Their secondary is really good, so he needs to get it together. But it's not over. It's one game. He still has 17 touchdowns, 10 picks on the season. That's better than Jordan Love. That's better than Patrick Mahomes. So
This game alone had 7 punts, 5 of them by Jacksonville.
yeah.
Um, so it was pretty much just a special team special.
Well,
Yeah.
didn't the announcer say at one point too? It was like late in the end of the first half where Jacksonville had gotten their first like drive in the red zone. Like they barely made it outside the 40 for most of that first half. Like they just couldn't do anything versus our defense until that what was it? Did that touchdown get set up by a pass interference? I can't remember. The Mac Jones
Uh,
sneak. Or
yeah,
did
let me
did
run for
that
no
was like the one
gain.
drive they had where they actually did something.
23-yard pass. Um,
Or was it the play that got it? I don't know.
ineligible person downfield. Someone was injured.
Another bright side. We came out of
Oh,
that game healthy.
well, it kind of helped them. Asamoah had an illegal formation during the
Okay.
kickoff. So that's what pretty much helped them.
Yeah. So I mean, the defense was absolutely stopped. People could say like, "Well, it's Mac Jones, it's Mac Jones," but we played Mac Jones on the Patriots on Thanksgiving a couple years back, and he absolutely roasted us for almost like 300 yards. They almost beat us that game. So he's shown that was the Donna Shell defense, but he's shown that he could take it to us. And so for him to only have 111 yards, and for Etienne, who's a good running back, to have under 50 yards rushing, our defense was absolutely lights out. Grenard was just all over the place, Van Ginkel all over the place. Loved it.
I throughout all this, I'm going to find the silver lining. Andrew Van Ginkel. I want him long term.
Yeah, he's getting extended.
Well, I met him at the draft party. Van Ginkel is just not only hungry for a title, but he's a wonderful person and he's contributed massively to this defense. The fastest touchdown in the Statcast era from the time he caught the ball in week 1 to the end zone, fastest pick six. I mean, what else?
Which again, he's due. He's due for another one. Why not get one against Will Levis?
I I really like him. I want him long term on this team just because he brings very good leadership to this
Yeah,
team. It's necessary to keep somebody who can absolutely violate that line and just completely crush the quarterback
yeah,
like he did against Mac Jones, and
just
no
the
one was there
right
to
term.
stop him.
Yeah, just pancaked him.
Oh my god.
I think
Uh,
we see Van Ginkel and Cashman both get extensions right away this offseason because especially Cashman too. Like the stat is we're 6-0 with him and 1-2 without him. The impact he's made on our defense when of the three big free agent signings between Granted, Van Ginkel, and Cashman, he was kind of the afterthought. Like, oh, here's this cute Minnesota story. Guys from Minnesota played for Houston. Now he's back in Minnesota. But he's we noticed a considerable difference with him not on the field.
exactly. Um, there is one person. So we're going to continue to the. We actually have a. Well, hello, Yoli. We're doing good. We're just trying to keep from not going ham on our offense from last week. I think all the Viking fans will agree on that one.
Well, again, I mean, we could hype up TJ Hawkinson for having a really good game, and Aaron Jones had a really good game. So it wasn't all a failure, just mostly.
Yeah. So moving on to our game against Nashville. Some people call it another trap game. Some people say we're gonna lights out them. I honestly think we're gonna lights out them just because of the fact, well, Tennessee is just terrible this year, and there's no getting around that.
Yeah. I mean, their offense is 27th in both yards produced and touchdowns produced. I think they're only averaging like 17.8 not yards, points per game scored. So barely over a touchdown. And you can see in the over under. The over under is like 39.5. They don't expect it to be a very high scoring game. Um, Yeah, Will Levis is a pretty abysmal quarterback. He turns it over quite a bit. They don't really have any receivers. They don't. What do they have? Uh, Pollard at running back. He's not very good. So their offense is. It should be pretty easy for our defense, like last week, to hold them in check. But again, that secondary for Tennessee, they're fourth in yards allowed. They're really stringy in passing yards, but their run defense is pretty middle of the pack. So we're going to need Aaron Jones to have a big game.
Let's take a look at the. Um, so the betting odds for us. This is from Bet MGM. The Titans are the 6 point underdog.
Yeah.
The money line
At
is
home.
dropping. Yeah, the money line. Luca.
Yeah, that's true. And we kind of said that last week is that this Jacksonville game can be considered a trap game, but KFC doesn't really fall for trap games. Like we don't always play our best, but we don't really lose those at the clip that we used to lose them. We still find ways to squeak out wins.
He also said this. The Titans' defense is legitimate.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes, I mean they're
so
29th in points allowed, but they just don't give up a lot of yards. They just turn it over a lot.
the favorite is Minnesota at 6 points. The money line's at Minnesota at minus 254, with Tennessee being 205, and the total points is 39.5 as the over under.
Yeah. Which I'm honestly, if I was a betting man, I'd take the under on that because I don't see Tennessee getting over 14 points, and I don't see us getting over 25.
I don't know. Um, if we can get over that hurdle, then we'll be fine. Google's already given us a 70% chance to win the game.
I honestly feel like that's kind of disrespectful. But I mean, hey, after last week, I suppose we haven't earned the right to get higher than that. So that's absolutely fair.
We already
We
have
need this
one.
win.
We pretty much have a clean bill of health. So it looks like Gilmore and Smith were injury or not injury related. They just wanted some rest from on yesterday. Everyone else
Yeah.
was full participation. We only have one person out, and that is Gabe Murphy.
Okay.
And I think that's going to be a very good sign for us. If we can stay healthy for the remainder part of the season, then we're going to have a very decent shot at the playoffs. I already feel like we're going to make it in.
Yeah. I mean, if we win tomorrow, we're 8-2. Chicago and Green Bay play each other tomorrow. Green Bay is going to have their 11th straight win over Chicago, so we're not going to get any separation from Green Bay tomorrow. We play Chicago next week. We need to be 8-2 going into Chicago because those are the true trap games. Chicago seems to always have our damn number, and their defense outside of Caleb Williams playing awful and the offense not being good, their defense is very very good. So,
Yeah, if we get 9-2 or even 10-2, then I think we're going into the playoffs.
yeah,
Luca is asking this: will Darnold continue to turn the ball over?
tomorrow, unfortunately, probably he's probably going to have another pick or two with that secondary. Although Legarius Sneed's out, he's not having a great season, but he is one of Tennessee's better corners, and he is out tomorrow, so that helps. But I think Darnold will have the touchdowns he didn't have last week. He'll probably have like a 2 touchdown, 2 interception type game.
Yeah, I think Darnold will have at least one interception, but I do see him countering from last week and getting us a few touchdowns.
Yeah.
Um, he also says this: bet the under. Ooh. Oh, you think 2 touchdowns, Luca? Interesting.
Well, as I jokingly said earlier, I do think that AVG is in the market for another pick six this week. Again, Will Levis, all he does is turn the ball over. The Titans' offense is not good, and we have the number one intercepting team in the NFL. So all we got to do is just bring a couple of those to the house, and I think we put up a double digit win. It's just not going to be strictly due to offense. It's going to be a lot of kicking. It's going to be a lot, or hopefully a fumble or a pick six for a touchdown.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me look at the Titans Vikings history. All right, results. The last time we played them, they barely won, and that was in our place. That was in during the pandemic. So, um, and it was a 1 point loss.
That would be very Vikings.
Yes. Um, last time we played in Tennessee, we beat them. So the Vikings pretty well dating back to when they were the Houston Oilers. I'm gonna say that. So going even back to when they were the Oilers, we only have 5 losses.
Jeez.
The first time we played them in um, when they were called the Titans, 2001, and we beat the ever loving snot out of them, 42-24.
Do it again tomorrow, minus the 24 giving up.
20-3. We lost 130-17.
I'll take a
We
20-3 game.
Would you take a 30-7?
No, no, I don't want to give him a touchdown. I'll take a 20-3. I only want to give him a field goal.
um. Yes. So we're 9-5 against them, even dating back to when they were the Oilers in one of the greatest stadiums ever, the Astrodome.
Yeah, I missed that logo. That was a freaking cool logo.
The Astrodome is still around
Oh,
because they have designated it as a national landmark.
that's cool.
I mean, yeah, well,
Do we know what the weather's supposed to be like tomorrow?
let's take a look.
'Cause I swear to God, if it rains,
Tomorrow it's supposed to be 71 and sunny at
perfect.
right at kickoff, it's going to be 68 right at time of
Perfect.
kickoff. So
Let's
by the
go.
time, actually, you know what? The kickoff there's at 1 o'clock. I forgot. 69 and sunny. Yes.
I thought Nashville was central.
Huh? So it's going to be in the upper 60s by the time the game will get over. It'll be
Perfect
possible
weather.
rain.
No, no rain. No rain.
I kind of would love to see us play in a mud game.
Yeah, but Sam Darnold turns the ball over. He fumbles when it's not raining, so I don't need his hands getting any more slippery.
I'd like for them to hit a punt and the ball just goes straight and just lands right into the mud.
God, how many of those was I hoping for last week? I'm like, can the Jags please just muff a punt so we can get onto the damn goal line? Another fun little talker for this weekend is Justin Jefferson. He only needs, what, 14 yards to beat Randy Moss's all-time Viking record for most yards in 5 seasons, and he only needs 55 yards to have the NFL record for most yards through his first 5 seasons. And there's still 7 games to go.
It's gonna happen.
Oh, all he does is break NFL records. That's all he does. He's gonna get 1,000 yards. He's gonna be one of 5 receivers all time to have 1,000 yards each of the first 5 seasons. He's a stud.
Now, but then that begs the question: if he does not get a ring with the Vikings and he plays his whole career, is he a Hall of Famer?
Yeah. Calvin Johnson, Randy Moss. Yeah.
Now, Calvin Johnson didn't, end his career on the best of terms.
No. And he was the first ballot.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was first ballot. He was. Didn't he set the single season record for for something? I forget what it
For
was.
most yards.
Yes, most yards in a season.
Yeah, something like 1,927 yards or something like that, I think was the season record.
And didn't he do it on Monday Night Football or something with a touchdown?
Probably. Knowing him. Yeah, Matt
So,
Stafford, yeah. Should have
yeah,
traded for him.
um, yeah, I'm gonna say that I think it's going to be a very interesting game to watch. Already knowing how many Viking fans are there and are going to the game, it's going to be another home game.
There was a skull chant in Jacksonville last week. Like an audibly loud skull chant in Jacksonville. Like you hear about us traveling to LA for Rams games pretty well and sometimes Cardinals games. But Jacksonville, Florida, the land of the strip mall, was legitimately close to 50% Vikings fans.
I'm going to try to see something. I want to show you a picture from last week's game. I can't show the video, but I can show the screen grab. And we don't talk about mascots on here at all. So I want to show you this picture right here.
He
Shouldn't
was
they have Shouldn't they have blown a penalty on Jacksonville for that?
I don't I don't know what the precedence for that would be. Just standing in the way of a celebration, but that was funny that they just kind of shoved him out of the way. Like, no, we're celebrating.
Wouldn't it be like taunting or something?
Delay a game, maybe.
But yeah, I thought that was a little funny picture from last week.
Right.
So yeah, sorry I couldn't show the video clip. The NFL would probably find me and bring me to NFL jail. I don't want to go there.
Right.
As you know, this month is November, No Shave November or Movember. The American Cancer Society wants me to remind everybody 1 in 8 men in their life will get um, prostate cancer. 1 in 8. And, if you know a guy or you're a guy yourself, please get checked. And two of those 3 men who get diagnosed will end up passing from prostate cancer. It's not fun. Regarding the other cancer that men are prevalent to get, about 7 years ago, I was getting checked for it because there was some issues that I was having, and well, the big C was getting thrown around, and having seen it from the perspective of a loved one having cancer. My dad's a 2-time cancer survivor. You know, do everything you can to prevent cancer, and um, we're gonna end it once and for all. And as you know, a good friend of the show, passed away, a couple months ago from cancer, and we're gonna end it once and for all for everybody.
Yeah. 40 is the new 50. Get checked early.
Yep. All right, here's Luca. Oh, yes. And 61% of those were for Marcus's wedding. Oh my gosh, I would have loved to see that, but it would have drawn a flag and a fine.
Worth it.
Wait, you're not a
Again,
real
don't stand in the
mascot?
way. I love how the Colts mascot's still catching heat for the halftime show where he was just pushing around all those little pee wee football players.
Well, here's one that was actually funny. So apparently, when they were playing the Bills last week, someone that was playing a Bills fan went through a table, and the Colts mascot just winds up with a chair, and just hits him with it. And
Colts
I said,
mascot, the
well,
menace.
since the Royal Rumble's gonna be there, just grab a freaking ladder and have a tables, ladders, and chairs improv match right there.
Heck yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah, I can't wait for US Bank to host SummerSlam. I'm going to that for sure.
yeah, that's 2 years from now.
Yeah.
I can't wait because I'm gonna try to go both nights.
Nice.
Watch somehow they put the ramp and close off 140. I'd be
Yeah.
upset. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be interesting. So moving on to keys to the V. What are some of your keys to the V?
I've already mentioned a couple times. I think it's going to be on the defense and their ability to turn the ball over. I think we have 13 or 15 interceptions on the season, and Van Ginkel has a handful of pick sixes. I think if our offense is going to struggle versus what is a very stout Titan secondary, we're going to have to make up for that by having our defense put some points on the board. Whether it be Van Ginkel, whether it be Byron Murphy, whether it be someone else, we are going to need to get some turnovers turned into points to keep that separation. Because Aaron Jones hasn't scored in a little while. Justin Jefferson's just getting absolutely blanketed. So it's going to be defensive touchdowns. This is the key to the league.
One of the keys to the V is getting the ball in the damn end zone.
Yeah, it's generally helps.
Let's get some points on that board. Get a couple
Yeah.
touchdowns. Make us feel better.
Well, God, we seem to move the ball so easily in the first half of the season against good teams like San Francisco and Houston. We were just putting them up in bunches. Darnold with a 4-touchdown game. And so you see the exact opposite where it's 0 touchdowns. It's like, come on, man, just give us some crumbs. Just a littlest bit of offensive production in the end zone. Because, yeah, I want to have another one of those where the game is just put away, where it is 30-10 with 7 minutes left to go, and we can just kind of breathe and be like, hey, we finally put it to someone.
Yes. We also need to really dominate on defense like we did last week. Will Levis, let me look up Levis's stats because I really don't pay that much attention to the Titans.
I think he's only got like 6 or 7 touchdowns on the season or something abysmal like that. I mean, they benched him for Mason Rudolph.
Oh, that's who they benched. Oh, the guy that got whomped on the head.
By Myles Garrett,
yeah. Yeah. Oh, their third stringer's Trevor Simeon.
Hey.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yes, this should be very easy for us to win. Titans are 2-7. Will Levis has a 31.7 QBR, 874
31?
yards. Huh?
31.7 QBR.
Yes.
Oh. Brother, ugh.
7 touchdowns and a completion percentage of 68.2.
How do you have that high a completion percentage with only 7 touchdowns and a 31 QBR? What's his pass or what's his average yards per attempt? Like 5?
5.9.
Ugh.
And he's got a 7 for interceptions as well.
Okay.
At a 1-to-1 ratio.
Oof. Well, so hypothetical. So realistically, what should happen is our defense absolutely dominates tomorrow, and our offense probably struggles versus a good secondary. What if it's completely flipped? What if our defense just gets toasted? Will Levis has like a 3-touchdown, 1-interception game, but Darnold goes off for 5 touchdowns versus a strong secondary. Like, how would you leave the game with our offense just having a just damn near record offensive performance, but our defense getting roasted by Will Levis? Would you be nervous or happy?
Nervous. All right. Here's some more. And this is just to really rub salt in the wound that Will Levis has just gone south pretty quickly. 9-15 against the Jets. He got sacked 4 times. 9-22 against Green Bay. He got sacked 8 times. Last week against the Chargers, he got sacked 7 times.
Jeez.
Our defense is due.
Yeah.
That goes.
Well, here's Dallas Turner.
Yeah.
Get Dallas Turner a couple sacks.
This goes to show their O-line is terrible, and we're gonna feast.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, if we get a 9, sack them 9 times, I think that'll be a strong showing for our defense.
I'll take 6. I mean, even just make him uncomfortable. I remember Kirk had a really, really cool, and I know that Will Levis isn't a rookie, but Kirk had a really cool line in one of his huddles playing a rookie quarterback. He's like, I've been a rookie. I know what it's like to be a rookie. If you make them uncomfortable, they don't know what the F to do. We got to make them uncomfortable and just not even give them a chance.
Now this will conclude us playing the AFC South. We've already won against the AFC South. Um, we're going to be at least 3-1, if not 3-0-1, if not 4-0. I think we're going to go 4-0. The AFC South is just terrible this year.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from Houston, that's a weak division we're talking about.
Yeah.
Uh, you know,
God, I'm so salty that Detroit beat them.
and we throttled Houston.
And we throttled them when they still had Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs. I think the only one that was out that game was Tank Dell. Or no, I think they
Yes,
actually had all three receivers. The only one they didn't have was Joe Mixon.
yes. Joe Mixon
And we
wasn't there,
still absolutely destroyed them.
and that was one that we were not even expecting.
No. Well, again, I mean, last week we won our seventh game, and that our over under on the season was 6.5. It's
Yes,
week 11, and we've already hit our over on the season. So all these people saying like, "Oh, the Vikings are getting exposed, they're getting overhyped." We've already hit what y'all thought we were gonna hit. Just give it up and admit the fact that we're a better team than everybody thought. Just admit
we,
it. It's
we're
okay.
on house money now.
Yeah. Like when we hit 5-0, we said we could essentially go 500 the rest of the season and still finish with a 10-win season.
And I want to say this to people who have expected us to do 7 or worse. How do you like us now?
Right? Oh, Sam Darnold, great, and we're still 7-2. Imagine if McCarthy's the guy next year.
Well, there's talk that we might re-sign Sam Darnold, depending on how deep of a run we go, because McCarthy had more surgery just this week.
So it wasn't. I mean, it was considered a surgery, but it was really just a knee injection to help with some swelling because his knee was getting inflamed from returning to like a more physical practice. But they said it's not going to affect his timetable for recovery at all. It's pretty common in knee surgeries. Ponder got kids you don't know about?
um, but yeah, I really think that this rebuild year we expedited it, and whatever we did, we're doing good.
Yeah. I think the player as well, we keep talking about we're going to extend Van Giegel, we're probably going to extend Cashman, all these people we keep talking about on defense. But one person that keeps going unsung is Shaq Griffin. Like if
Yes.
you look at his stats, the amount of targets that he gets versus the amount of touchdowns he's given up, the pass rating he's allowed, he's playing really well. Now you could probably argue, well, he's like our corner three, so he's probably not going up against the best receivers. But he's been super sticky. There's not a week that we've been on this show where we've got like, man, Shaq Griffin really got toasted. Man, he really played like shit this week. He's been super consistent. It's been nice to have him on this team.
I I think this year our defense has really shined.
Yeah. And Brian Flores, man. And God, if he, I keep seeing people saying that, well, McCarthy in Dallas is not going to be the head coach next year. That's a prime spot for Brian Flores. I swear to God, if we lose Brian Flores to the Dallas Cowboys and he makes Dallas good again, I might stop watching football.
I really don't think he's gonna go anywhere because there's still that lawsuit going on.
Yeah. You think Jerry Jones cares about that?
I Jerry Jones is probably gonna hire. I think he's gonna go Robert Sala. I'm gonna be that bold.
Honestly, if you could get a good offensive coordinator and just take play calling out of Sully's hands and just make him a head coach defensive coordinator, it's not a terrible move.
Or I mean, how about if KOC goes to Dallas and Flores becomes our head coach?
No.
No,
No, so do you mind if I go on another little rant? I actually
sure.
was talking about this to someone earlier today. I see it in Vikings Facebook groups, Viking Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. It's not a large group of our fan base, but it's a concerning portion that think that KOC is a poor coach or a bad coach and that we need to move on. He has 18 games in the last 2 seasons with either Sam Darnold or a backup quarterback, and we've won 11 of them. The record that we have in games where we at least tie the turnover battle is what, like 21-1 or something like that. And
Yeah.
even the quarterback that he had, Kirk Cousins, like he had his entire career being dogged and being told he was a terrible quarterback, and he was putting up MVP numbers until he got hurt last year. KOC might have these cutesy plays once in a while. The offense might not score on every single offensive drive. Guess what? No team does. There are so many teams that would kill to have KOC as a head coach. My work, we have the same UPS driver every Monday. He's an Eagles fan. He tells me all the time,
Oh,
like, the success your team has with the quote lack of talent, because we don't have any, like, outside of Jefferson, we don't have any star names. We have good players, but there's no, like, NFL level, like, widely known stars. The Eagles have plenty of them, and we're honestly probably the same team, if not slightly better than, because our coaching is just that good. So KOC needs to start getting the respect that he deserves.
so let me. So PFF ranks our team, our defense, as 11th in PFF and first in DVOA.
I was gonna
Right
say,
there.
are we top three in DVOA? Yeah,
And they rank us first in defense efficiency.
yeah. And again, like we don't have Daniil Hunter. We don't have. Oh, he's not playing anymore. In Aaron Donald, we don't have these like the Xavier McKinney. We have Andrew Van Ginkel, who until we signed him, no one in Minnesota really knew who he was, myself included. Just Jonathan Grenard, no one outside of Minnesota, or sorry, no one in Minnesota really knew who he was. And they're putting out insane numbers because of Brian Flores.
Yeah. Ben Johnson is going to be getting a head coaching job this time around.
Yes. Yeah.
There's no going around it. Yes, I know he says he wants to stay, but Ben is got Ben John. I even said it last year when the Carolina job was available, since he is from from that area, that he was going to get that job, and I'm very shocked he didn't get. He pulled himself out because he could have gotten a really good job. However, Carolina kind of needs more than just a coach. They also need a good owner. Get David
Yeah.
Tepper.
Yeah. And
Ben
it's hard to
Johnson.
walk away from a team that was on the cusp of a Super Bowl too.
I mean, think about him paired up with Aaron Rodgers in the with the Jets. Think about that.
Hey, Roger says he wants to come back for the 2025 season.
Um, the Saints job's open. Um, who else is open?
Chicago. Eberflus is probably going to get fired. You can't block a head coaching position. Like you can't block a coordinator and head coach position. So if
Really?
Chicago's, I don't think you can. I think you can only block lateral moves. So even though it's a division rival, I think if Chicago fired Eberflus and said, "Hey, Ben Johnson, we want to interview," I don't think Detroit could stop that. Now he could have that kind of self pride of being a Lions coach, be like, "F you, Chicago. There's no way I'm going to help you." But the last thing I want is Caleb Williams getting Ben Johnson as his coach.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, he could even go to Dallas.
Yeah, make Dak great again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wonder what the success rate is for defensive coordinators to offensive coordinators when becoming head coach. So I feel like offensive-minded coaches fare better at being head coaches than defensive coaches.
I do think the Lions are going to lose one, if not both, of their coordinators to either different coordinator positions, or maybe even one of them's going to get a head coaching job. And the head coach I see is going to be Ben Johnson, and he's
Yeah,
going to be gone out of Detroit, and it'll be interesting to see how Lion fans react to that, because it'll be interesting to see them adapt to a new offense
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see if Dan Campbell is the driving force behind their success or if it's Ben Johnson.
If it's Ben Johnson, I can already see 5 games in, and like the Lions are like 2-3. Them going, why? Let's get rid of Dan Campbell. Let's get rid of Dan Campbell.
Okay, so I'm like, you're never going to do that. You joked about, well, why don't we just send KOC to Dallas and hire Flores? What if Detroit's like, actually, you know what, DC, you're great, but all these aggressive fourth down calls are biting us in the ass, and Goff just not quite maxed his potential. We're going to actually let you go and just self promote Ben Johnson to our head coach.
Well, yeah, and yes, I will say Dan Campbell's gutsy fourth down calls are dangerous.
Yeah.
But so score prediction. I'll let you go first.
So I was a little big for my britches last week. I thought we were going to have our comeback game and really just kind of put them away and just our offense is going to go hog wild. I don't have that same confidence this week. As I mentioned, the secondary for the Titans is a lot better than the overall team is as a team. I think our offense struggles again. I think we win 20 to 9.
I'm gonna say we win. I'm gonna go 24-7 that we win, just because of the fact we're due for a good win, another solid win. I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be that because then we have to play Chicago in Chicago, and well, we know what's gonna happen there.
Right. I'm not looking forward to that game.
Well, it's gonna be another invasion in the stadium.
Yeah. Chicago gives me PTSD.
They've only beat us once in a long time.
That's fair. I just keep going back to the Trubisky days where it's like he's a terrible quarterback, but their defense is so good that we still couldn't do anything against him. And Caleb Williams is not playing well. Their offense as a whole is struggling, but God, that defense is still just stout.
Chicago's not going to be making the playoffs. I think they need a lot more a lot more work to be done.
Yeah. They need to fire their coach. They need to fix that O line.
Yeah, 9 sacks. Uh. I mean, you alone 9 sacks is
I didn't see the
is
comment. Is he saying we're going to get 9 sacks or get sacked 9 times?
no. Well, when Caleb Williams got sacked 9 times.
Oh, he did last
Yeah,
week.
I believe so. Let me
I did
pull
not
it
see the
up.
game last week. That's brutal.
Yeah, I believe he did have 9 sacks or get sacked 9 times last week.
Well, sweet. That again, our defensive line is really good at getting this. So
Yep, 9 sacks taken teaches Caleb Williams plenty in bare loss against the Patriots.
that was against the Patriots. Hey,
Damn.
Poles, you're gonna take the North and never give it back. Maybe year 4 is the charm. You're not
Yeah,
supposed to take the Bears back to the basement and never give it back.
make the Bears basement again.
Yeah. Congratulations, Chicago. Back-to-back number 1 picks, and all you did was stay in the basement.
It seems very, very un-Chicago like. Why haven't they just completely overhauled that coaching staff now?
Terrible owners.
Paul Merkel, in the group, we got some seconds left. He's now calling on Eberflus to be fired.
Yeah. It's yeah, they're saying they're keeping him. We'll see.
Yeah. So thank you guys again for joining us. I wish we would have had more people on, but you know what? At least we're keeping it consistent. Rob
Yeah,
will be back with us next week, and I'll probably be taking next week off for recovery.
we got to show
So,
off for those road games.
yep. So, and
All right,
as till next time,
Skull.